All right, everyone here in person and watching online, welcome to the Wireframing and Mockups workshop. I'm going to go over some of the tools that we linked through in the syllabus and some of the tutorials that are in the syllabus, and then I'm going to go a little bit more in depth with a tool called Balsamic Mockups and show you guys how to kind of get started using that. So let me go ahead and turn on the screen share. All right, so if we look at the syllabus on, this is really difficult to work at this resolution, but if we look at week 9, I've linked to a couple different wireframing and UX design kind of tools and tutorials and stuff there. See if I can move this over. Is it under week 9? I thought it was. All right, so under week 9, we've got this learning to design article, which is kind of article about UX design and kind of user interface thinking and that kind of stuff, how you can think about this stuff as you're designing products or mock-ups of products and that kind of thing. Then the week before, week 8, there's a bunch of links to tools and tutorials on how to use different tools. And so one of the things, kind of like the most basic and simple one, which I think is pretty cool, is this article on how to design interactive mockups using Keynote. And basically, like, you just use Keynote to lay everything out as if it was a real application, and there's all sorts of features in Keynote for linking different slides and things like that together. So you can build something that more or less looks and feels like an actual application, and this is especially great if you're trying to design something to wireframe or mock up a mobile app. Because you can take Keynote, put it in presentation mode on an iPad or a phone or something like that, and then you end up with this thing that looks like an app, and you can click on buttons and things actually kind of work. So that can be great just to give people kind of a sense of what the look and feel of your application might be like. And you can probably do the exact same thing using PowerPoint or other types of presentation software, Google presentations, that kind of thing. So that's one super easy way to do kind of interactive mockups and wireframes. And then the other thing we link to here is something called Balsamic Mockups. So there's a lot of different wireframing and mockup software on the market. This one I thought might be good for you guys because it's kind of like the easiest, it's the most straightforward, it has the most kind of limited feature set, which means that it's not a really complex interface. So if you guys want to play around and kind of follow along, I would go to balsamic.com, BALSAMIQ. You can download a free trial from there. The free trial is good for 7 days, and it gives you kind of full functionality for the 7-day trial period. So between now and when your projects are done, basically you should be able to use the software. So why don't you guys go ahead and download the trial. And I have a copy of it already running here. Let me see if I can get this to fit the tiny window. Yeah, so I guess that'll have to do. But so basically, when you first open up Balsamic Mockups, this is kind of the interface that it shows you. And it is pretty simple, pretty straightforward. It's really kind of a lot like PowerPoint or Keynote. Everything is kind of drag and drop. And they've organized different tools and different things you might want to drop based on different kind of categories. So there's, you can sort by all, and that gives you kind of everything that you might possibly need. Buttons, containers, forms. There's iPhone-specific ones. And then there's also, you can create your own assets and put them in here. You can just drag and drop images into here. You can create your own kind of sets of tools using images and vector graphics and things like that. And then there's also a way, I think, to go online and download kind of toolkits that other people have built for Balsamic, and you can just import them into Balsamic. You can use all the tools that somebody else has built. So there's different kind of aesthetics that they make available to you. So this is what we're probably going to be using is the sketch skin. This is their like very standard. It kind of looks sketchy like a sketch, so people know that it's not actually a final product and it's just a mock-up. You know, it has kind of a funny Comic Sans kind of look to it. There's also the wireframe skin, which looks kind of a lot more professional. It's still black and white and grayscale, but it kind of looks a little bit more legit. So you can, you know, kind of use whatever makes the most sense for based on what you're trying to do. And we can look at a few of these just to give you guys an idea. Basically, any kind of application that's out there. This is Twitter. It looks like Wikipedia, Google Maps. You can kind of create a crude model using Balsamiq. And so traditionally the way that this is used kind of professionally at web agencies and companies is you want to kind of diagram and wireframe out everything before you actually build anything, because you want to figure out what are the kind of user flows, what's the user experience going to be like, where's everything going to go, how are you going to lay things out on the page. Because only when you start doing that will you start to figure out where some of these things break down, or will you start to figure out where you're going to run into some kind of difficulties with layout, design, and visuals and things like that. For your guys' sake, I think this is going to be a lot more about just starting the kind of process about thinking about product. Not all of you guys are going to have things that are kind of discrete products. For some of you guys, wireframes and mockups maybe won't make any sense at all, but I'm assuming most of you guys who are here and anybody who's watching it online, you know, you're probably doing something that is like a mobile app or a web app or something like that, where you want to give people a sense of what kind of thing might you want to build, what kind of platform might you want to build for kind of bringing your idea to life. So let's go back into Balsamiq, and we can just throw something together really quick, and I can show you guys how easy it is. Do you guys have a preference? Like, do you want to see do you want to do a website? Do you want to do a mobile app?
I'm going to be doing a website.
You're doing a website? Okay, how about you guys?
Yep.
Website? All right, let's do a website. So the first thing I would start with if I was doing a website is this browser window right here. And you'll have to excuse the horrible resolution, so we're going to have to make everything really small, I guess. But so you'll see what I did there was, let me undo. All right, let's select this whole thing. All right, what have I done? So it's basically everything is just drag and drop, right? So you have all these different things, you drag them and drop them in here, and when you drop an element like this in here, it's going to pop up with this text field, and basically that's showing you these are all of the different fields that you could fill out with different text when you're dropping an element in here. So this will probably be the title, so I'll say my cool website, and this would be the address, coolwebsite.io, and then you'll see it fills that in for you on the page. So let's click outside of this. All right, so we have this. So now you want to start thinking about what kind of elements do you want to live on the page. And there's a lot of, there's containers here that you can have different kind of containers that you can put on there. You can put text on there. There's different kind of buttons and things like that you can use. So let's start just by, all right, let's not do that. Let's put some text on the page. So what kind of text do we want? Just a subtitle? Okay, a big title. Let's do that. So put a big title up here. Okay. That'll show you when it's centered. All right. So what kind of features do we want to put on this front page? What kind of stuff might we want to put on here?
Login, some ability to engage with it.
Login ability. Okay, I like that. So here's a text input box. Let's do a username. Line those up. Let's maybe put some text above that. And you can see as you use it, also one cool thing it does is it starts figuring out what stuff you use most often, and it puts that stuff in the front so it's easier to find. Link bar. Let's just do label maybe. Yeah. So we'll say log in here. All right. So what I'm going to do now, like PowerPoint or any other kind of visually oriented software like this you use, I'm just going to hold down the Shift key to select all of these things at the same time. Whoops. And then I should be able to move them all instead of having to realign all of them. Wait, why did that not work? What is going on here? There we go. Huh, why wouldn't it let me? Maybe I can't move them all at once. All right, I spoke too soon, maybe. But so let's move all this stuff down, and what kind of stuff might we want above the fold? What might we want people to see when they first log into the site? Should we put an image up there?
Explainer video?
An explainer video. Okay, I like that. Let's go to media. And you can see what they usually do here is there's just kind of like dummy images for things, right? So like the video player doesn't actually have the video in it. It's just a kind of blank video. If we wanted to do an image, they have a where was the image? Their images, oh, here we go. Images are just like a white box with an X in it. The idea there is when you're doing mockups like we saw in some of these examples here, whoops. So as we see here, instead of wasting time with a bunch of images, they just put a bunch of X's in there. That's pretty standard for user interface and user experience design, but if you guys want, you could put real images and stuff in here too to kind of flesh it out and give it more of like a real look and feel. So let's actually put something in the video box that looks like a something that might be a thumbnail image for a video. So what's an idea of what's a video we might want to have on the front page of our cool website? Could be anything.
Make it start from
You can see my URL bar. All right, so this is a nice image. Let's do this. So I'm going to save this image to my downloads folder. Go back to Balsamic. If I go to my downloads, I can just drag and drop. Oh, I got to save this first. Okay, so just drag and drop it in here, and it will drop the image in there like it's any other element, and I can resize it. Let's try to get it to fit this container. It's going to look terrible and squished, but whatever. Okay, so we've done a terrible job of making something look kind of like a video. Awesome. So basically the idea is you can go through and you can add whatever types of elements and buttons and interactions and things that you want to the different pages. And so what you would do is, kind of like on a spreadsheet, how you can have multiple tabs at the bottom of a spreadsheet. Once you're happy with this front page, you would just add another page, and then you would go and you would throw another browser window down there. And then you would drag whatever type of elements you want onto this page. So there's some more kind of advanced interactive features in here. I think that probably none of you guys are going to need to use them, but it is possible to create links between different pages inside of Balsamiq, so you can create something kind of interactive where you can jump from one page to another and pages can link to each other, things like that. And then it's even possible to export that as a PDF, and you can have an interactive PDF where the buttons actually work and you can link between things. So that's like, that could be useful. Probably for these projects, you guys are not going to need to do anything that advanced, but if you go through the support documents on the Balsamiq site, they have all of this stuff really well documented. They have how-to guides for how to do all of this stuff. They also have videos. They have getting started. They also have something called UX Apprentice, which is like if you use Balsamiq a lot and you want to learn, like, okay, what's the actual kind of theory behind user experience, and like, now that I've been using this for a little while, like, how can I actually design things that are good and that take best practices into account? They have this whole kind of learning platform that you can use that teaches you, like, this is basically the kind of knowledge that professional UX designers leverage at their jobs, that kind of thing. So let me show you guys something I think that will be helpful for your projects, which is with your trial version, I think you should be able to do this for 7 days, but you can basically you can export your mockups in a bunch of different file formats, right? So you can export them as PNG images, you can export them all to a PDF. Exporting them all to a PDF is kind of a cool thing, because if you create multiple pages and you have a bunch of pages inside of one Balsamiq project, you can just press that button and boom, it gives you like a 10-page PDF with all of your pages in it. So that could be a cool thing to attach to your materials for your project. But let's go ahead and export this as a PNG. See, so it tells me my thing was exported. So here it is, very cool. There's my cool website. So now something we can do. Let's start a new Keynote presentation. Why did this pop up? That's a problem. All right, never mind. Let's start a new PowerPoint presentation. So one situation I think for which this would be great for a lot of what you guys are doing is if you're going to go out and make mock-ups, it would be awesome to put them in your slide deck, because I think that can be a really great way of visually showing us, okay, I've spent all this time doing all this deep thinking about the problem. I think I figured out a solution. I think I understand some of the kind of mechanics of how the solution might work. Let me show you a couple screenshots of like the thing that I think I would like to build if I had the time and the energy and the resources and whatever else. So let's say like results, wireframe. And then, as I'm sure you guys know, like with any other kind of image, whatever PNG images you, well, this is being hella slow. Whatever PNG images you get Balsamiq to spit out, you can just drag and drop in here like a regular image and resize it. So this, I think, would be a really good way if you guys are going to do mockups and wireframes of kind of leveraging them for your presentation. And you can do the same thing. You can drop them in your text documents if you want to put them in your long description, your short description, whatever materials you want to use these for. You could use them in your videos if you wanted, just kind of have them interspersed with whatever you have in your video. So, I think it could be a pretty quick, easy way to generate some visuals that you can use for a lot of different parts of your findings. So that's pretty much like the basics of how this works. It's pretty simple. If you can use PowerPoint or Keynote, you can probably figure out how to use this. It's actually quite a bit simpler than both of those pieces of software, I think, in a lot of ways. Do you guys have specific questions? Are there specific types of things you want to see how to do? Yeah.
The thing that I've had trouble visualizing or thinking through is sort of how one moves from the login to other parts and how the I guess the taxonomy of the site spreads out. Is this more for visuals of what any individual page might look like, and less for how A connects to B and then B connects to CDE?
So you could use it for that too, for sure. They've got a lot of let's get rid of this. So I think they've got things like arrows and just regular boxes and stuff like that. Like this stuff is all optimized for creating mock-ups of websites, but that doesn't mean that you can't use it for a bunch of other stuff. Let's go to containers. So let's call this. All right. Get this thing to go away. Right, so you could imagine how throw some text on here.
Question
Home page, right? And then you would find the arrow tool, and you could draw arrows between here and do something like a kind of visual diagram of the overall topology of the site. I think that's another great idea. I think that Balsamiq is kind of it's the tool that you use for like actually creating wireframes after you've done some of the initial design thinking. So for some of the stuff about like the overall topology of the site, one thing that I think is a great way to start is just with a piece of paper and a pen, and just start drawing stuff out. Because as you're drawing it out, you're going to figure out like, oh wait, this doesn't really work, or like, oh, I need something else in here and whatever. I think it's going to be a lot faster to work that way and just cross stuff out and add stuff. And then once you kind of have something that you're happy with, you're like, okay, now I can go into Balsamiq and I can make it look kind of nice and generate an image that I can use for my presentation, that kind of thing. Cool.
To make it, because this is like the style very like you have drawn this, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we want to transfer this to the other style that looks more professional and stuff.
Let me see if I can figure out how to do that. So
could you mention this also again, how you pulled up the second slide for the mock-up down at the bottom?
Oh, so if you mouse over the whatever number of tabs you have, there's just a little plus sign at the very bottom. You see that? If you hit that, it just creates a new.
Yeah, I must have hit something.
There may be another way to do it. New blank mockup. One of these buttons probably will do it.
Yeah, I can just ask you after.
Group, ungroup. Yeah, maybe you changed your view options. But yeah, let's see if we can figure out how to change this style. So here it's got skin under view. Yeah, so you can switch from sketch skin to wireframe skin. Let's see if it will just switch all of our stuff over if we do that. That would be awesome. Ah, cool. So you can work in either style, and then you can just transfer it after the fact. So that looks like slightly less terrible than it looked before. So yeah, I mean, depending on the kind of visual tone you want your mockups to have, there's those two, and this is something I've not looked into, but I'm sure it's out there. There may even be other skins online that other people have made that you can download and import into here. So, what else? Any other burning questions?
Does it have to do maybe with if you download the trial, it's like used differently than.
Oh, like maybe there's limited features.
Yeah, like my setup on my computer is different from the setup that you have on your computer.
Weird.
But I don't know. Not in a big way, but just like in terms of like when I try to change my view options or anything?
Notes here. Go up to View. That's it.
I think it's because you're using it from the browser and then download the app.
Oh.
Oh, yeah. So this is
that's
a completely different version.
Okay.
Yeah, so I should have mentioned at the beginning. So they have a browser-based app, and the way that the desktop software works is that you can use it for free for 7 days, or you can pay $75 or something, and you can use it for life. The browser-based version is a monthly fee, and you can use it in the browser. And yeah, so the interface is a little bit different, but it has some nice features. Like it's basically like Google Drive. You can store all your mockups in the cloud, and they'll keep them for you forever, basically. And then you can access them from any machine. Any machine that has a browser, you can show your mockups off in presentation mode, basically like a slideshow, like that kind of thing.
Oh, so I downloaded the trial version of that, but I should download the app trial version.
You should download, yeah. So if you go to the site.
Yeah. I'll do that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they've got download desktop app and start web app trial. So yeah, I mean, whatever makes the most sense for you guys. For some people, maybe the web app is more useful. I don't know. All right, anything else?
Could you make a quick sample if we wanted to link inside?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, let me see if we can figure that out. So let's say, all right, so we have this mockup.
Exactly. You click login and it takes you to the next.
Yeah, to the next screen. Let's do that. So get rid of all this garbage. All right, and we'll say inside the page. All right, so now we have this inside page. We want to go from the front page to the inside page. Oh, markup, by the way, Alan, this is where you'll find all the arrows and stuff like that.
Got it.
So for doing network diagrams, I think this stuff might be useful.
Cool.
So let's see. Wow. Right, I ended up in presentation mode somehow. It's pretty weird.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is kind of cool. All right.
That happens in full screening? Yep.
Yep, I think so. So these are fields, so let's put a submit button underneath this. Alright, so we have the submit button, and then show link inspector. Okay, so then basically you select the button, and there's something called link inspector. You activate that, and then it has no link. Or you can link to so how do I link to this guy? Oh, maybe do I need to save first? All right, so now I can link to my other cool mockup. So then let's go into this awesome
So every tab is a
presentation.
file. It's a different file.
It's a different file, yeah. So it shows it as a tab view like a spreadsheet, but unlike a spreadsheet, it's not all one file. Each one saves as a separate file, but they can be linked. So now that we're in presentation mode, we can see there's this big, stupid arrow and this submit button that's red, And if we click on that, amazing, we go to our inside page. So this can also be a pretty cool thing, like if you guys want to show this during your presentation.
Taxonomy question too.
Yeah, you can imagine kind of clicking through something like this, and it's a neat little kind of interactive show and tell of what your thing might be like.
So you got to that again by just going to the step.
Yeah, so all I did was let's do that over from scratch. I created a new button. And then I right-clicked on the button, and it gave me this contextual menu. So it had, so it'll say Show Link Inspector. You click on Show Link Inspector, and then you can just choose any of the links that you wanted, or any of the links to other things that you wanted. But like, let's see how this works. So let's do that. Let's go into presentation mode. Cool, so you can even have it pop up a link in a web browser, which that's a pretty neat trick that might be useful. All right, any other questions, comments, concerns?
If we don't finish, for example, this is only 7 days and we don't want to pay, do you have any other recommendations for apps that we might?
Yeah, so Balsamiq is pretty easy and simple. Like I said, you can also just use Keynote or PowerPoint if you have one of those already, and you can do probably like 90% of what you can do in here you can do in Keynote and PowerPoint. On the syllabus, I've linked to the how to do interactive app mockups in Keynote. There's probably a similar tutorial like that out there for PowerPoint if you just Google it. Another one you might look at is OmniGraffle. OmniGraffle is more complex than Balsamiq is. It's still used by a lot of professional designers, partially because it does have kind of more options. One thing you might like, Alan, is it has more of the kind of network diagram type tools. So, like, do you remember Microsoft Visio from back in the day?
Yeah.
So this is basically like a modern version of Microsoft Visio. So it does everything Microsoft Visio does. It does everything Balsamiq does, and it does everything that like a lot of 2D like architecture and interior design software does.
Oh wow.
So it's kind of like it's an all-in-one kind of thing, and you can see like you can do like crazy pictures of gardens in color with all these plants and everything. So like that's pretty cool. Right, but you can
programming.
Right, but so you can see here, like, you can do wireframes. It's way more tools, and it's kind of like way busier of an interface. But that's another one. I think they have. Oh, and here's the kind of thing that you're looking for, right? Like the Visio style kind of network diagrams.
Yeah.
It is more expensive. It's like $200 or something like that. But I think they have a trial as well. Maybe they have a 30-day trial. Hopefully, I don't know. Let's see. Yeah, I don't know, but if you look at this website on a computer with a greater resolution than 500 pixels, probably it's on this page somewhere, and I just can't see it. But yeah, I imagine they have to have a trial also, so that's another one to look at, depending on what you want to do. But from what I've seen, I think Balsamiq is kind of like the easiest, simplest one to use, and they all get kind of more complex from there. There's another really nice one called has a really simple name like Pages or something like that for Mac. It's not Pages, but it has some kind of name like that. But that one also is like $200, a little bit more complex, has some more kind of bells and whistles, that kind of thing. But yeah, I mean, if you're looking for something simpler than Balsamiq, PowerPoint or Keynote is probably the way to go. If you're looking for something more complicated, there's plenty of options. Anything else?
It's,
All right. Well, goodbye to everyone in TV land, and we will see you guys at final presentations.